Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi was rumored to be given a 7-figure advance, and not only that, it was also blurbed by ta-nehisi, the author of Between the World and Me, a type of conversation piece with his son regarding being a black man with the status quo in the United States, and was probably the most influential 150 pages in my time on this planet as a person of color. So naturally, I waited with bated breath for the release of Homegoing, and it is finally here. It drops tomorrow on Tuesday, June 7th. I had the great opportunity to meet Yaa Gyasi at BEA, and I received a finished copy back in May. Gyasi takes us through a family saga covering over 300 years, spanning 8 generations, and traveling between 2 countries. Homegoing chronicles the slave trade, the interaction between the Asante and the Fante in Ghana, and their further interaction with the British. This journey begins in Ghana in the 1760s, sketching out the Asante-Fante rivalry, and then moving to the Cape Coast Castle, a landmark that we get to know in anguishing detail as we get to see the deplorable, dehumanizing conditions that the slaves are kept in the dungeon. Gyasi herself first visited the Cape Coast Castle at the age of 20 in 2009, where her tour guide informed her of the difference between the comfortable conditions in which the British officers lived, some of them marrying Ghanaian women, as compared to the awful conditions of the dungeon below, which served as a type of holding room for the slaves to wait before they are shipped off to the United States. This juxtaposition is seen right from the start, where we meet 2 half-sisters, Afia and Essie. Afia marries one of these British officers and moves to the castle, whereas Essie goes off to the dungeon. At the beginning of the book, the reader is given a family tree, and every 30 pages or so, we move down a generation and are introduced to a new person's narrative. This structure allows us to see the pervasive effect of intergenerational trauma, which Google defines as the transmission of historical oppression and its negative consequences across generations. As I was browsing through Goodreads, one of the critiques that I saw was that some of the later narratives that take place in the United States feel less fleshed out, and I believe this is because of the way that Gyasi writes, such that we feel the impact of Afia and Essie right up until the last page. So it kind of feels like I know them better as opposed to someone that I only met 30 or 60 pages ago. They have their legacy trickle throughout 300 pages through Gyasi's use of Ghanaian folktales, legends, and myths. I read an article done on Homegoing by the Wall Street Journal, and in this article, Gyasi highlights her struggle of appearing black but not quite fitting in with the African American culture in the States after moving from Ghana, and how that plays into Caucasians being the dominant discourse in the States. Fitting in both in Ghana and the States was a challenge for her, and that was one of the driving forces for this book. My favorite character in this book is a Ghanaian woman named Okosua, who we meet around page 100. In a direct passage from the book, she says, "I love my people, James," and his name on her tongue was indescribably sweet. "I am proud to be Asante, as I am sure that you are proud to be Fante. But after I lost my brothers, I decided that for me, Okosua, I will be my own nation." We really get to see the effects of not only being a woman, but also being a black woman, and how this plays out both in Ghana and the United States. In an interview with Time magazine, Gyasi comments on how history is formative of current social constructs, and in order to understand the status quo, sometimes reaching into history and examining the horizontal and vertical factors in a family system is the key to understanding what's actually below the surface. This is exactly the tone that Homegoing sets. It's a story built on family, self, and culture, and how these contribute to a conversation about social constructs. It's really easy to be swept up in this book. I read it in only a couple sittings. However, I wanted to take my time with it because, like Burial Rites by Hannah Kent, I wanted to take my time and digest the writing style. Also, like Shelter by Jung Yoon, I wanted to take the time to examine the issues raised by Homegoing and reflect on how they impact my own views of society and self. Homegoing is definitely on my list for my top books of 2016, and I would very strongly recommend it. Well, that is it for this video. If you guys have any comments, questions, or anything else, please leave it down below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!